Picture this. You just spent $300 on a massive heavy winter parka. You step outside into the wind, and within 5 minutes, you're still shivering. You feel like you got scammed, right? Well, here's the cold, hard truth. That jacket isn't actually warm. In fact, if you wrapped a thermometer in that jacket and left it outside, the temperature inside wouldn't rise a single degree. That's because your clothes don't generate heat. They're just a cage designed to trap the heat your body is already making. Most of us are freezing because we're using the wrong cage. Today, I'm going to show you the simple science of why your expensive gear is failing you and how to actually stay toastier than a marshmallow without spending another dime. Before we dive into the dead air secret, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. I'm here to help you master the outdoors without the marketing fluff, and you won't want to miss our upcoming guide on winter survival. Gear. Now let's talk about why your jacket is basically just a glorified thermos. It's just a fancy word for thickness. The thicker the layer of trapped, unmoving air between you and the outside world, the harder it is for your body heat to escape. This is exactly why a thin, heavy leather jacket can often feel colder than a light, airy puffer jacket. The leather might stop the wind, but it has no loft, meaning there's no place for your heat to hide. But there's a catch. If you compress that air, say by wearing a backpack that squashes your jacket flat, the dead air vanishes. Suddenly, the spot on your back is freezing because the cage for your heat has been crushed. If you want to stay warm, you have to stop thinking about your winter coat as one big magical shield. Instead, think of it like a team of 3 specialists, each with a very specific job. If one of them fails, the whole system collapses and you end up shivering. The first layer, the one touching your skin, is the base layer. Now, his job isn't actually to keep you warm, it's to keep you dry. Here's the deal. If you sweat even a little bit and that moisture stays on your skin, you are in trouble. Water pulls heat away from your body 25 times faster than air does. This is why you should never, ever wear a cotton t-shirt in the cold. Cotton is like a sponge. It gets wet, stays wet, and turns into a refrigerator against your ribs. You want polyester or wool, which wicks the sweat away so your skin stays bone dry. Next is the mid-layer, and this is the dead air specialist we just talked about. This is your fleece, your wool sweater, or your light-down jacket. Its only goal in life is to be as puffy as possible to trap your body heat. If you're still cold, you don't necessarily need a thicker jacket. You might just need a second mid-layer. 2 thin sweaters are almost always warmer than 1 thick one because they create an extra sandwich of trapped air between them. Finally, we have the shell layer. This is your outer armor, the windbreaker or the waterproof jacket. This layer doesn't have to be thick at all. In fact, it can be paper thin. Its job is simply to stop the wind from stealing the warm air your mid-layer is trying to hold on to. If the wind can blow through your sweater, your dead air becomes moving air and your heat is gone in seconds. When you put these 3 together, you create a personal climate that you can control. Too hot? Unzip the shell. Still cold? Add a mid-layer. It's the ultimate hack for never being cold again, regardless of what the tag on your jacket says. So, you're standing in the gear shop and you see 2 jackets that look identical. One is stuffed with natural bird feathers, that's down, and the other is stuffed with man-made polyester fluff, which we call synthetic. One costs twice as much as the other. Which one actually keeps you warmer? The answer isn't about the temperature, it's about the environment. Let's talk about down first. Down is the gold standard for a reason. It is incredibly lightweight and has a loft that synthetic materials just can't match. Because those tiny feathers are so 3D and branched out, they trap a massive amount of that dead air we talked about. If you're in bone-dry, sub-zero temperatures, down is your best friend. It's also compressible, meaning you can squish a giant down parka into a tiny ball in your backpack, and it'll spring right back to life. But down has a massive Achilles heel. If it gets wet from rain or even your own sweat, the feathers clump together. All that beautiful trapped air vanishes, and your expensive jacket turns into a cold, soggy rag that provides zero insulation. This is where synthetic insulation wins. Synthetic fluff is basically just fine plastic threads. Because plastic doesn't absorb water the way feathers do, it stays puffy even when it's soaking wet. If you live somewhere damp, or if you're doing a high energy activity like hiking where you might sweat, synthetic is actually the safer, warmer choice. It's also usually much cheaper and hypoallergenic. The downside? Synthetic is heavier, bulkier, and it wears out faster. Every time you stuff a synthetic jacket into a bag, you break those tiny plastic fibers just a little bit. After a few years, it loses its spring and won't hold as much heat. So the great debate really comes down to a simple rule. If it's dry and freezing, go with down. If it's wet, snowy, or you're working hard, synthetic is your MVP. You could be wearing the most expensive down jacket in the world, but if you're making these common mistakes, you might as well be wearing a cardboard box. Most people think a jacket is like a closed room, but in reality, it's more like a chimney. The biggest mistake is ignoring the leaking points. Think about your neck, your wrists, and your waist. Your body heat is warm air, and warm air rises. If the neck of your jacket is loose, all that dead air you worked so hard to trap is just going to float right out the top. That's why a simple scarf or a drawstring at the waist can make a cheap jacket feel twice as warm. You're literally plugging the leaks in your heat tank. Another huge mistake? Overdressing before you move. If you're about to go for a winter hike or even just a long walk to the train and you feel perfectly toasty the second you step outside, you're actually in trouble. Within 10 minutes, your body will start producing massive amounts of heat. You'll start to sweat. That sweat will soak your base layer. And as soon as you stop moving, that water will turn into an ice pack. The pro tip here is to start cold. If you're slightly chilly at the start of your walk, you'll be perfectly warm once your internal heater kicks in. And let's talk about compression. Remember how we said loft is everything? If you buy a jacket that's a size too small because it looks sleek, you're crushing all those air pockets. You want a little bit of wiggle room in there. That extra space is where the warmth actually lives. Finally, don't forget your head and feet. You've probably heard the myth that you lose 80% of your heat through your head. That's not true, but your head is like a giant radiator. If your core is warm but your head is cold, your body will actually pull blood away from your hands and feet to keep your brain warm. So if your toes are freezing, put on a hat. It sounds crazy, but it works. So if there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. You are the heater, and your jacket is just the insulation. If this video helped you understand your gear a little better, give it a thumbs up. And if you have a trick for staying warm that I didn't mention, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your pro tips. Thanks for watching, stay toasty out there, and I'll see you in the next one.